Another day, another Disney animated movie to watch. But after you watch this one, will you wish you hadn't? What's up, my dude? Your friendly neighborhood Tony here. And as I do with all my movie reviews, I'm gonna give you a little bit of information about the latest Disney animated movie, Wish, who made it, what it's about, all that good stuff. Then I'll go into the things I did and did not like about it, pros and cons. And finally, I'll let you know who I think this movie is for, if anyone. If that kind of thing sounds cool to you and you want to keep up to speed on all the new big movies that are coming out in theaters and on streaming, make sure you subscribe. All right, so Wish follows a young girl named Asha who wishes on a star and gets a more direct answer than she bargained for when a troublemaking star comes down to join her from the sky. Wish is directed by Fawn Veerasunthorn, which is one of the coolest names I've heard in a while, in her directorial debut, and Chris Buck, who's been with Disney for, well, forever. He directed the first two Frozen movies and the Tarzan animated movie from back in the day. Wish stars the Broadway legend Ariana DeBose as the main character Asha, Chris Pine as King Magnifico, the hilarious Alan Tudyk as Valentino the Goat, and a bunch of other actors and actresses you'd probably recognize. Also, the music was written by Julia Michaels, who's a wildly successful singer-songwriter. All in all, there's a ton of talent behind Wish, which is never a bad thing. But is all that enough to make it a great movie? Well, let's get into the old pros and cons, starting, of course, with the pros. The first thing that jumps out to me are the songs. I feel like having solid songs is something that will either make or break a Disney movie. And here, I think, it mostly works. Some of the songs are super catchy, particularly one called I'm a Star and another one called Knowing What I Know Now. Those two stuck out for me for sure, really a couple of jams. I also like how they tried to tie this movie into other Disney properties. I won't spoil anything, of course, but there are some nods, and really more than just nods, to some classic Disney stories. So I appreciate that world building. I think it's fun to spot different characters and storylines that lead to other properties. I also think that young kids are definitely going to get a kick out of this movie. It's absolutely aimed at that target audience, and I think it'll work for what they're trying to do. Oh, and also the wishing star is super cute. They're definitely going to sell some stuffed stars to a bunch of kids. Although, is it just me, or does that star look eerily similar to the star from the Super Mario movie? You know, the one that was a little creepy and was in the cage? Is this an origin story for him? All right, I gotta keep it real. Aside from those bits, there was a lot that didn't work for me with Wish. So let's get into that with the cons. But before we do, I want to let you know that this review is sponsored by you. That's right, I'm just a tiny little channel here without any big corporate sponsors or anything like that, so just by watching these videos, you're really helping me out. If you want to be super dope though and show your support in the easiest possible way, do me a solid and click that little thumbs up button below the video and maybe leave a comment. What are some of your favorite Disney animated movies of all time? And have the more modern ones been working for you? You can also now join as a channel member if you want to help support me financially, or just subscribe for free if you want to keep up to speed on all the new big movies coming out. So either way, if you do, I appreciate it. All right, back to the cons. All right, where to start? Well, for one, the art and animation. It felt undercooked. They blended 2D animation with CG, which isn't particularly uncommon nowadays, but here, it just came off as kind of bland. The characters themselves, they look totally fine. There's nothing that really stands out as good or bad there. But the backgrounds and the scenery was, well, as I said before, bland. There were a bunch of moments where you basically had a character standing in front of just a solid color panel with nothing going on in the background at all. And some of the more magical and wonderful scenes, I feel like just really underperformed. I mean, this movie has a $200 million budget, and I do not see where all that went. It's kind of shocking, to be honest. I also felt like the story itself was lacking. I mean, the king, played by Chris Pine, is supposed to be the big bad, but the way they set up the conflict between him and Asha for a while, I mean, he's right. And again, no spoilers, but he's doing what's best for the kingdom for the most part. Of course, towards the end, he turns fully evil, but I feel like that whole arc could have been written much better. And speaking of the writing, oh boy, the dialogue in this one is super clunky and just on the nose. Now, look, I know it's a kids movie, but there are plenty of kids movies with incredible writing and dialogue. This one just felt like they grabbed a generic template, filled in some names and places and little plot points, and just rolled with it. It feels like a made-for-TV Disney Channel movie, and not one of the classics like Brink. There's also a ton of blatant exposition dumps, just characters telling each other exactly what's going on in the world. And man, I wish I could spoil this for you, but just pay attention to the ending and let me know if you can pick out which Disney movie it completely rips off. I honestly don't know how the script got greenlit. So all right, enough of that. who do I think Wish is for? I mean, I think young kids might get a kick out of it, and I do mean young, like sub 10 years old. Although even then, it feels like something they'd be more likely to watch on Disney Plus and not necessarily in theaters. Other than that though, if you're a massive Disney fan, you might like it. But if you don't really fall into either of those categories, personally, I'd skip it. Of course, these are just my thoughts and opinions. Either way, if Wish sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out in theaters this weekend. If you've seen the movie already, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if not, what are some of your favorite Disney movies? For me, Aladdin will always be my number one. I mean, it's a story about a poor brown boy. Highly relatable content for me when I was a kid. And of course, if you want to keep up to speed on all the new big movies that are coming out in theaters and on streaming, make sure you subscribe. All right, my dude, I'll catch you in the next one. Be good.